Vote Rejoin EU.
Vote Rejoin EU.
If I compare undoing Brexit to pretty much most civil rights movements, to the fight for liberation for black people, to the fight for women's suffrage. But the reason why I make that comparison is because when you look back at those processes, the gaining of rights for those groups, you have to think about what happened before that. How many people would have had far better lives if those movements had happened a few years before? How many people would have reached the top of their industry, reached the top of their goals in life if we'd done it faster? And with Brexit, it's a similar thing. And it's not insulting to make that comparison because who pushed for Brexit? It's the same people that have been opposing every civil rights movement we've ever seen. Like Brexit was, well, the Brexit Party is now the Reform Party. And what's that party now? It's the party that's railing against Muslims, railing against immigrants. It's got one convicted woman beater, another one they're accusing themselves of being a sexist abuser. That's what Brexit has created. And undoing Brexit is inevitable. And so the question is, how many people are we going to allow to suffer until we eventually undo it? And when I say Brexit is inevitable, that's because it is. Because logically, Brexit will always be something that is making the country of the UK poorer. Because all countries do most of their trade with the countries that are physically closest to them. So it's always going to be in our interest to have the best trade with the EU. And if we don't have the same laws as the EU, that means there's always going to be a trade barrier between us and the EU. So until we fix that, we will not be as wealthy, as prosperous as we could be. And in every single election, the people of the UK will always want to be better off. So it's a question of how many times can you roll the dice until we eventually land on rejoining the EU. So rejoining the EU is inevitable because it's necessary to improve our quality of life, because I can't think of another policy that's on the books currently that is costing our economy £100 billion a year. So if we know that's where we're heading, we know that Brexit is damaging the NHS, how many people are we going to allow to suffer until we make that happen? How many people are going to allow to suffer in poverty, not reach the goals that they want, not be able to start a family because they simply can't afford it, like my generation especially, just mostly can't afford it? How many people are we going to allow to suffer and not get the medical treatment they need in the NHS because we haven't got doctors and nurses and the medical equipment and the medicines that we need to staff the NHS? How many people are we going to allow to suffer because, well, now's not the right time? Because, but it's so complicated. Because what if the Daily Mail says mean things about us? And I make that comparison with civil rights movements because ultimately this is a civil rights issue. Because Brexit has unleashed the worst of UK politics. Like, people often say, like, why are you talking about Brexit when it comes to the Reform Party? Because it's what Nigel Farage has been pushing for the last 40 years. Like, if you knew that somebody did this horrendous thing, and you look at their history, and they were investing in, say, I don't know, Oreo's cookies, you think, well, what's cookies got to do with that? Brexit is what brought us here. Brexit is the thing that said that it's okay to pursue policies that every single expert says is going to make you poorer, simply because, well, it's going to make lives of migrants and immigrants harder. Brexit is the thing that has broken our politics. And Brexit is the biggest weakness of Nigel Farage. And that's why it's painful that we seem to be making some of the same mistakes that we made in 2016 and 2017, 2018, which is that we think we need to be aiming for basically the centre-right. We need to be such a broad church that brings in your moderate Tories, your Reform people, your UKIP people. We do not need to do that. They are not the future. They are the people that have brought us to a horrendous place. If you're asking why aren't there more young people in this room, more women in this room, more ethnic minority people in this room, well, if you're making a church that includes people that have explicitly supported the people that were sending those Facebook posts that led to people with my skin tone being hunted in the street last summer, then you only have yourselves to blame. If we actually want to create a movement that brings in young people, that brings in ethnic minority people, that brings in diverse people, then there should be no place for fascists. And yes, I did use that word because you could make excuses back in 2016. In 2016, the people from the Brexit camp, they went to the poorest parts of the country. They went to Sunderland, to Hull, to Swansea. They went to those places that have been forgotten by Westminster for generations. They sought out poverty. people that have suffered and needed things to change desperately. And they told them, Labour's not helping you. The Tories aren't helping you. We will. They took people who knew that they only had one more chance at an actual decent life, and they gave them Brexit. They were right to be desperate back then because they'd been through 6 years of austerity at that point. They were looking for something that could possibly save their families, the people around them, and they turned to them. But now after 3 years of chaos under Boris Johnson, and then the years that have followed where they can see that Brexit is making them poorer, and even according to YouGov, by 45 to 9 out of 100, so it's not a majority, but it's still 45% of Brexit voters believe that Brexit has made the cost of living crisis worse compared to 9 that's think it's made it better. Brexit voters believe this has made us poorer. So that argument is dead. The people who brought you Brexit, Nigel Farage, etc., they themselves, Nigel Farage said Brexit has failed and that we haven't benefited economically from Brexit. I spoke to several Reform Party candidates at their rallies who said on camera, you should show this to them, that that Brexit is making us poorer, and that if they were in power, they would pursue the No Deal Brexit from the Brexit Party, and they themselves said that would damage our food supply for the next 20 years, make us poorer for the next 20 years. And the quote they used was, "Sometimes you have to take a little pain for things to get better." 20 years. That's what they're offering. So not only have they admitted that they have made us poorer, but that if they were in charge, if they were doing Brexit right, it would make us even poorer. So anybody who is still supporting the Reform Party, it's not because it's out some working class desperation to get a better quality of life because the Reform Party themselves have admitted, no, we will make you poorer. So it's not about that. So when you subtract the working class struggle and the issues of poverty from what the Reform Party is offering, it's just anti-migrant, it's just anti-minority. It's just the stuff they've been saying about Muslims. So yes, call them what they are, because the people that are actually the future, young people, they want you to call it as it is. They don't want people being tiptoeing around the issues. We can't say mean things about the people that are wanted us hunted in the streets. That is who they are. So if you want to actually make this movement grow, then represent the future. Speak. The phrase they use is "build it and they will come." No, say it and they will come. Say what Nigel Farage is. Say that we are the people that are actually willing to improve quality of life. Say that because Brexit has done so much damage, undoing it will make your life better. You can see that things are too expensive. You can see that you're struggling to get hospital appointments because we're struggling to employ NHS staff. We can make your lives better, and all the evidence, even the people that voted for Brexit in the first place, admit that. Because we are the future, so we should act like it. Thank you.
Vote Rejoin EU. Join the EU vision.